Okay, so this Insta360 Go 2, literally the smallest action camera I have ever used, and it's probably the most versatile. It looks like something that Apple made. It looks like Apple AirPods, and basically that's what it is, except instead of being headphones, it's a straight up camera. So this little thing right here that you're looking at is a charging case. Inside the charging case, we have this tiny little camera, which is the Go 2. And finally, we get this size action camera with an interchangeable filter thread. So that way you can even attach ND filters, you can attach a UV filter, and that way the lens on this camera is always protected even if you scratch it up. You can just swap out the glass pretty easily. The camera also has a magnetic back, so it's gonna snap right into the charging case very easily and immediately start charging. With the kit, you also get several different mounting options, such as a magnetic pendant, a flexi sticky mount, and a visor mount. And this will attach to a helmet or a hat. The first thing you're probably wondering is, what's the battery life and what's the footage look like? Well, in the intro, you already saw what that footage looks like. I'm gonna show you some more right here. So there's a digital gyro built in. It's all digital stabilization, no gimbal here. And another great feature about this camera is that it can shoot in multiple formats. So you're not stuck with only shooting widescreen options, but you can also shoot in vertical. It will shoot both formats at the same exact time. Battery life, we get about 35 to 40 minutes of continuous running time on the camera when it's not in the charging case. The charging case will extend that battery life to about 150 minutes, and you can use the charging case as a remote controller for the camera as well. We have different shooting options as well, such as photo mode, video mode, pro video, we have time shift, and you can even change the frame rates as well to get slow motion. Now at the time of this recording, this is the first firmware for this camera, so that means that I can shoot only at 30 frames per second. There is no 24 frames per second yet, but via a firmware update, it will be available. The charging case itself does have a 1/4 20-inch mount at the bottom, so you can attach a selfie stick. And by the way, the case is also a little pivot stand. So there's little legs on the bottom here, which will just allow you to sit it down at the table and record yourself that way too. When you remove the camera out of the battery charging case, you can press the little hidden button on the front of the camera here, and there's haptic feedback, so you'll know exactly when the camera starts recording, even though you're not looking at the indicator light. Now, the most powerful feature about this camera is its size and stabilization. I'm literally able to capture angles that I'm not really able to capture on larger action cameras, especially with my new hobby, and that is electric unicycling. Yes, that's a real hobby, and I think it's starting to become somewhat of a sport. My favorite mount for capturing this type of footage is the sticky flexi mount, because it's a reusable mount, meaning that once you use it and stick it onto something, all you really have to do is just wash it and you can start sticking it onto things again. So it's kind of like magic. So build quality, what's it made out of? Well, it's simple. The body is made out of plastic, the lens is made out of glass. So how would it handle a drop? Well, I got you covered because I accidentally dropped this thing. I was wearing my magnetic pendant, and when I was riding the unicycle, my hand actually accidentally hit the camera and it flew off of the magnetic pendant. So you just gotta be careful if you're using that mount. And it fell directly onto the street with me going 20 miles an hour. And besides a few minor scuffs on the camera body, it really didn't affect it. So now let's talk about the overall user experience while editing the footage from this camera and controlling it from your phone. So download the Insta360 app, and then you'll be able to connect to the camera. And here are the current options that we're looking at. Here's the live view. Hello, what's up? So if you notice, we only have a maximum resolution of 1440p, but it doesn't look like that when you look at the footage. It looks a lot sharper. So what I think they did is, I think this is actually a 4K camera or perhaps even higher, and they cropped it into 1440 because of the digital stabilization. So if I'm wrong, please let me know, but I think that's exactly what they did. Here you can see all the field of view options: wide, action view, linear, narrow. And the more narrow you go, the less resolution you're going to get. So I like to keep it as wide as possible. Here we have the frame rates. Currently, as I mentioned earlier, we only have 30 frames and 50 frames per second supported, but via firmware update, they're gonna update it to 24 as well. You can also change the color, so you can shoot in vivid, standard, or log. So if you want to color correct this footage and match it with other cameras, you can definitely do that as well. We can also change the shooting mode. So right now I'm shooting in standard. In pro video mode, you'll have access to more manual features such as the ISO and the shutter speed, and you can even mess around with the bit rate. So this shoots at 140 megabits per second. So we're getting a lot of data here, and you can see how crisp and clean this footage looks even in low light. So surprisingly, this camera shot very good low light in automatic mode. So the camera was judging exposure completely on its own. Obviously we get a little bit of noise, but the footage came out pretty clean. And of course we have HDR mode, which is seen on the X2 and 1R action cameras as well. But it is limited to non-low light scenarios and if your scene is well lit. So let's go to my album and let's see some of the footage that I shot earlier. So here we have some of me in the mountains unicycling. Fire stations there and a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so the audio actually came out pretty clean as well. So right now this was shot in log, and I can scroll around over here till I start writing. And as I mentioned earlier before, I mean, the gyro is so good on this thing. And something that I really love is the ability to change how the stabilization works. So you can either use horizon lock, where the horizon will constantly stay straight throughout the whole entire shot, or you can use FPV mode, and this will allow you to manipulate the horizon in the same direction that the camera is moving. And this is a feature that I will show you using the Insta360 Studio app that's on your computer. We can easily scroll through the footage here. We have the timeline. You can make quick little edits, you can add music, you can even add face filters because we all know how popular that is on Instagram. And of course, you can download this footage directly to your phone and upload it to social media. So here we are in Insta360 Studio. By the way, I made a full comprehensive tutorial on how to use this software. Check out this video right here. This is the footage that I shot with my Insta360 Go 2. You'll notice that some of the file names are a little bit different. Here's Pro _ LRV, and then there's just simple vid. So simple vid is the standard video shooting option. This option will allow you to import it to any video editor. However, when you're shooting in pro video, this is when you can mess around with the stabilization options, and if that's the case, we can only use Insta360 Studio to do that. So this clip right here, notice how we have the ability to change the FOV and the type of stabilization. We have FPV stabilization and flow state stabilization. However, in some of the other video clips that I did not shoot in pro video on, you can see a lot more noise and we lose all of the settings such as FOV and the stabilization. So mainly shoot in pro video mode because you'll get a lot more options at the end of the day. All right guys, well, this is the Insta360 Go 2. This is a revolutionary camera just because it's so small and lightweight, and the fact that you can literally mount it on anything. So if you're interested in this camera, check out the link down below, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.